Good morning, legends. Well, looks like I dropped the ball on my video yesterday. We did not come back and get that bounce off the 50 that I was hoping for and expecting. Not to the point that anyone should have lost money, of course, because it was conditional upon bouncing, which didn't happen. We broke straight through. However, this move here gives me the perfect opportunity to talk about taking profits in today's video. So not only are we going to do a market update, we're going to talk about why this drop happened, and then we're going to talk about when you do have successful trades, how to know where to get out and actually realize those profits, because it doesn't mean anything unless you're getting paid. So if you're new to this channel, don't let this one move turn you off. Give me at least 5 minutes before you decide to click away. If you are returning, welcome back. We're going to talk about exactly what happened here. And whilst on the lower time frame we didn't get that bounce, on the daily time frame we got exactly what we've been watching for weeks now. So we're going to zoom out and look at that. And then also we're going to talk about where might Bitcoin potentially be going next. So there's a lot to cover in this video. I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to try and talk faster than I normally do. Don't forget to smash up that like button, hit the subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I do market updates 3 days a week on the best trading days. Let's get right into this now. So just a very quick recap. Yesterday we had this push out here. On my video yesterday I talked about V bottom entries, and what I was waiting for next was to see if price would come back to retest the 50 EMA, which is that blue one there. And if we got a bounce off that 50 EMA, in my video I said as long as we stay above it, there's an entry to long. This candle closed below it, meaning there was no entry. So it's a total reset today, which is good. And now let's talk about why did Bitcoin drop last night. Lately, Bitcoin has been following tech stocks. So if there's any bad news in relation to tech stocks, it brings Bitcoin down as well, unfortunately. So what I discovered after filming yesterday's video was that we actually had a lot of earnings reports coming out. Now, a lot of these companies are listed in the S&P 500 or NASDAQ or something like that. So if their earnings reports come out and it's not great news and it brings down the S&P or the NASDAQ or something like that, it's going to affect the whole market, and cryptocurrency isn't immune to that. So we had these ones come out. Sad news is that this actually goes on for a couple of days, because then we have late tonight these ones coming out as well. So it might be a bit tricky to trade over the next couple of days. When I did work this out, I actually did do a TikTok video on this. So if you're on TikTok, be sure to follow me, because you would have known to stay out of the market last night. Now we can see here in this article that Alphabet should have already reported, Microsoft should have already reported. We still have Meta, I believe, coming up, and Apple, I believe, tomorrow, as well as Amazon. So it could be a whole week of potential concern, and sometimes it's not worth trying to catch news moves unless you can actually live scalp them. But this is why Bitcoin fell last night. Let's have a look at how it affected the market in general. So Bitcoin here, I'm going to talk about this daily pattern in more detail soon. Ethereum has broken that 61.8 Fibonacci area. That's not that great. And this M pattern that we were hoping for on the USDT dominance has now broken to the upside, which is not good. We're approaching the previous weekly resistance. Again, if we break that resistance, that's not great for crypto in general. Dixie flying. We would expect the Dixie down here to be flying when we have bad news. This is the NASDAQ here in the middle, and this confirms that those earning reports didn't bring any good news. Even with gold coming down as well, it just shows that everyone is risk off. When you see the stock market coming down as well as gold coming down, but the Dixie pushing up, that just means everyone's risk off. So if everybody else is risk off, that means they're sitting on their hands, then so should we. Now let's take a look at Bitcoin's M pattern on the daily, because I have been talking about this since it formed at the beginning of this month. So we should have known this entire time that the M pattern was there, but has it fully played out yet? That's what we're going to look into now. Okay, so big zooming out on the daily. This is the channel that we've been in the entire time. And this little section right here is the M pattern. So I'm going to zoom in on that pattern. Now that M pattern forming at the top of the channel was a very clear reversal signal. And on yesterday's video, I talked about the potential of this big move here being potentially drop level 1 and 2. And then this final one here being drop level 3. Now what I said on that video was the way we will know is if markets market structure changes now. And clearly, now that we're in the present, we know that market structure didn't change. So this actually is now a confirmed drop level 1. This here was drop level 2. And now what happened last night is actually drop level 3, because you can see here in this candle, have a look at the volume in these candles. So to identify the real drops, you want to see volume spikes. So we had the final volume spike here. Drop level 2 was this volume spike here. And then this whole area here, at different points in this drop, there were volume spikes. So in my opinion, it is very possible that we are close to the final drop. However, in order for us to know that, the drop level 3 has to taper off with less speed and significance. So as you can see here, the drop level 1, a lot of speed, a lot of momentum to the downside. Drop level 2, a lot of speed, a lot of momentum to the downside. In order for 3 to complete, it needs to taper off. Drop level 3 is usually not as significant as the others because it forms part of the accumulation phase. So tapers off something like this, where we should just go sideways and do nothing for a while. What worries me about this, however, is the upcoming earnings reports that are coming out. So if they have the same kind of effect that they had last night over the next day or two, then this could continue to fall further. The other thing that could potentially happen is on a smaller time frame, we recover during the day, and then the next earning report comes out that drops us down. We recover during the day. The next earning report comes out, and by that time people give up. And somewhere in here, the 3 completes and we go into that accumulation that I mentioned happens during a level 3. That could be good, because if that happened, that's where we start to look for market structure changes and start looking for long positions. Now, as always, we're going to dig under the hood and we're going to have a look into Trading Light and see what is also going on. But before we do that, just looking at the daily channel, even with last night's drop, when you draw the channel to the first 2 wicks, we still haven't broken the channel. So we're currently okay. The other thing too is a bear flag on the daily time frame has a very low probability of playing out. Now, I know people are seeing this bear flag and saying, you know, Bitcoin's going to 20K and whatnot, but this actual pattern doesn't have a high probability of playing out. So even if we were to break the channel, I'm not sure if it would be a fake breakdown to encourage people to open more short positions, and then we shoot back right up into it. So I certainly won't be trading a daily bear flag. That's not my goal. Right now, my only goal is to see if we stay inside this channel and price can get back above the center line. That's going to bring confidence that we could potentially then move maybe back to the top. But really, the only reason I have this channel drawn is because I'm waiting for it to break one way or the other. Now, let's talk about the move on a smaller time frame. So now that we know we are potentially towards the end of the 3-level drop on the daily, let's take a look at the 1 hour and have a look at what is going on so far. Now, I want to talk briefly about this move here, because as you know from my video yesterday, I did catch the long off the V bottom, both on Ethereum, Bitcoin, as well as XRP. But for me personally, I don't hold trades through a boardroom. So whilst this was happening here, we were moving into this sideways consolidation, I had a very tight range drawn, and as soon as price broke one way or the other, I was ready to exit. I would hold on to it if we broke up, because that would mean rise level 2 was coming. But if we broke down, I'm out. So when it comes to taking profits, especially if you're just learning to trade, it is not wise to hold trades through a boardroom, which is sideways consolidation. I just call it the boardroom because that's where the market maker is meeting to decide where they're going to send price next. And you can see by these wicks here, they're testing and inducing traders. So these wicks to breakout traders at the time, these candles would have looked like big green candles that were breaking out of resistance. That's designed to encourage breakout traders to open long positions. They trap them and then they send the market back the other way. So therefore, when you know that consolidation periods are designed to trap traders, if you have yourself a good trade, take your profits and get paid. So during this, I was watching very closely, because if we broke down, I was going to exit. So I did exit all of those trades as soon as we started to break down. But what actually got me sus about this was, as I talked about briefly, you need the volume to come in to have a rise level 1, 2, and 3. So whilst we're in this consolidation, it actually made me curious to know, did we have all three rises within the one push? So I came back to the chart to check the volume, and I realized here the volume spike came in here on this one candle here. This one here was the volume stopping candle, so it's designed to stop the downwards move. Then usually you come back in with a second volume candle that pushes price in the other direction, and that would be this candle here. Now after that, have a look at this. Price kept pushing up, but the volume kept dropping. We had a divergence between price and volume. That should have been the trigger warning that this whole move here was a fake move before a news event, which now we know what the news event was. This is such a typical play when the market maker can use upcoming news to push the market in a direction that they plan to move it anyway. So now you know that. Where are we now? As we can see here, it looks like Bitcoin wants to have a little bit of a bounce. That's natural coming off the bottom of the channel line. Does that mean I think we're going to change direction from here? Not necessarily, not with further news coming out over the next 2 days. I think it's the time to be very cautious. The other thing too was when you break this down to the 15-minute time frame here, this right here was your M pattern reversal. Now, in case you don't know, I do have a private Trade Travel Chill community, and that community is run through Discord. We get together once a week and learn the market maker method in detail in combination with the other things that I've added to it for my own trading, such as Trading Light and liquidation data and news and lots of other things as well. On that live call, we identified this M pattern, and that is also the reason why I exited my long positions. And so far you can see that that M pattern played out perfectly. Now, if you are thinking of joining, don't join until after the first of the month, because the subscription is through Patreon, and Patreon charges you when you sign up, and then again on the first of every month. So if you join up now, you're going to get charged twice in 1 month. Just wait a few days. The link is in the description below. Be sure to check it out. If you want to be part of our weekly live sessions, they happen in the first class tier. So have a read about them and decide which one is right for you. But for now, let's have a look at Trading Light and see if we can see anything that gives us a hint of what may happen over the next day or two. Now, looking here immediately, what stands out to me is this area here at 38,950 and also 38,750. And then below price, we've got buyers here currently at 37,750, but that's the current wick. So those are the buyers that were responsible for pushing this price up so far. Below price, we've got 37,500, 37,400, and then the big order is at 37,100. So what this tells me is that traders are expecting more downside with the news coming tonight. And what we may experience throughout the day is a little bit of a recovery from this big drop. The recovery will create a lower high. Maybe sometime tonight when that news comes out, it brings price back down to this potentially 37,100 level. That 1K is an area where I would expect a strong bounce if those orders stay there. So they're there well in advance right now. They could be there for a reason. They could be there to trick people into taking the wrong side of the trade. And so that's why you can't bank on it in advance coming down to that price. But if we do start to retrace and head further down, potentially tonight, potentially tomorrow, then you want to re-watch the heat maps at that time to see if those orders are still there. Now, as I'm filming this, these short orders up here are coming and going, so we could even push up higher today. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter how much we push up. I don't think this is a buy the dip moment. I would let that push up happen, wait for the higher low wherever it comes, and then I would be expecting a further move down unless market structure fully changes and we happen to get a W formation. But even then, I would be very skeptical knowing that there are more earnings reports coming out. It looks like on BitMEX we ate right through those $9.2 million worth of longs at 38,000. Again, that could be contributing to what's pushing price up temporarily right now. We also have these ones here that got filled at 38.2, but we do have a lot of short orders at 38.6. currently trying to bring price back down. So this is what all of that looks like on a chart. So now that you see that laid out, I'd be expecting something like this and a rejection once the news comes out. If these buy zones stay there, could be a potential bounce here, little bit of a recovery, then down into this 37,100, providing those orders stay there. If they do, being such a large number, I would then expect a strong bounce from there. Now, here's the thing. Let's zoom out and have a look at this, because if all of that were to happen, this right here, this white line is the daily channel. So see how that will break the channel? What's the point of that? The point of breaking that daily channel is because that's what every bearish trader has been waiting for. At the break of this channel is exactly when they will all go short with big money, because they think this is going to be the trade down to 20k, and then the market maker is going to bounce right off that and bring it back into the channel. So for me, just adds to the reason why I would not trade the daily bear flag with an expectation that as soon as we break it, we're going down to 20k. Let's take a look at high block and see if that's telling us anything about liquidation levels that may have built in this drop last night. Now, this is the current chart. I want to compare this. Just have a look at this big red dip here. I want to compare this to how it looked before we drop. So I'm going to go into the Discord where I post this chart as an update daily along with my thoughts on it. And this here was the final update. If we have a look at that chart, see here, we're at only 3 billion delta to the shorts. This was during the consolidation yesterday before the drop. My thoughts on that were traders are getting smarter. They're either wrecked already or closed positions because the delta is now low again. If you managed to long anything last night, I'm not sure it would be the greatest idea to hold through consolidation and hope for a level 2. Exactly what I spoke about earlier on this video. If you saw my video this morning, you would have seen that gold is dropping. We identified that on yesterday's video. After looking into why, there's a lot of earnings reports coming out today or tomorrow that will affect the market, that could cause a news event that throws the market maker model out. So it's not that it's throwing the market maker model out. The market maker always knows what they're doing. But if we don't know the news events that they're going to use as an excuse, then we tend to think the model didn't work. The model always works. It's up to us to stay on top of news events so that we can think like a market maker. Moving on, I said I feel this leverage is low because everyone is risk off. It might be a night to close all trades and wait if you can't watch it. So it turns out that's exactly what we should have done last night. So this was the chart previously before the drop with the delta at 3. Now this is the current chart and the delta is at 14 billion again. So the market maker is inducing people to take short positions. And if we have a look at these levels down here, this is the liquidity for people who opened long positions previously and are still holding those long positions. This is the liquidity that the market maker has to tap into if they want to send the market down further. And when we look left on that, it does line up to around 37k. That's kind of the biggest area that we can see around here. It's not that big. There's not that much left, but it's still there. There's 81 million there at 36.95. And then when you have a look at these spikes here, it looks like the biggest zone is kind of in around here, which is around 37,500. So therefore, once you see all of that data, it doesn't make sense to long from here and look for W patterns, because on the 15 minute, this could look like a W starting to form now. Potentially it could be. The other thing we have to keep in mind as well is just because limit orders are down here below doesn't mean price is definitely going to come down there. If you're a scalper, this W may happen and it may play out. But in my opinion, it's not going to be the bigger move. What I want to see is price come back up into this area where we know there are currently shorts and see how it reacts there. Definitely going to wait for the news event. If those 1K orders stay there, then I'm probably going to stay up to look for a bounce at that level, because that will be the bigger trade. So to recap, if you're a scalper, you would be looking for a W formation from now, but you would have to reassess these sell orders if you were to believe that you're going to get 3 rises out of it. Something like that, not saying that 39K is the level. If these sell orders aren't that big, it could be a sell order that just leads to a retracement. All of that would need to happen within one session. So maybe the London session tonight. If you are looking for a bigger swing move like I am, we would let all of that scalp move play out wherever it goes to, because it could even end up just being a Fibonacci retracement level. So let me draw this out properly. So it could be a play that leads to any of these Fibonacci levels before the next earning reports come out. Then we have the next bigger drop if the earnings reports aren't good, and that sees us back at around these levels where we know that the buy orders are currently waiting. So a swing trader is going to wait for the bigger move. A scalper could potentially catch the recovery and then bag flip it and catch the short as well, and then bag flip it and catch the long. Would be very hectic to be on the charts that long. That's not really enticing to me. I would rather look for the one bigger move. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope that was helpful. Make sure you stay safe. Again, sometimes the way to protect your trading account is to not trade at all. Don't be afraid of missing news events. Sometimes they're just not worth it, especially if you can't be awake to live trade them. There's always going to be another trade. If this mess continues on for the next couple of days, then the good news is we might get a really good midweek reversal. So don't be stressed about trying to trade news events. It's very hard to predict which way it's going to go. Play the safer option and protect your trading accounts. Have the most amazing day. I will see you tomorrow for the final weekly update.